Your difference is who you are. Your difference is what you stand for. Your difference is your strength. Now, when you realize that you have to be bold and stand strong for who you are, you begin to understand that empowering your diversity is simply that's what it is. When you learn to embrace who you are, when you learn to accept who you are, when you learn to recognize who you are, that's what makes you the strength that you become. And that's when you empower that diversity. That's when you empower your difference. Being bold, being fully aware, being ready to accept, being ready to recognize. Because what tends to happen is lots of us, and I mean lots of us, especially Black people, especially those of us who are Africans, we tend to reject who we are. We tend to be embarrassed by who we are. We tend to want to run away from it. We want to join the majority. And when we do that, what happens is we disempower ourselves. We begin to lose who we are. And one of the biggest ones I always stand for is a people without culture, a people without a culture don't exist. I heard that from Dr. Africa. This man stood for everything African. And he could not understand why we chose sometimes to reject who we are. Without our culture, who are we? Without our languages, who are we? Without our foods, our fashion, who are we? One thing we always have to take on board is we cannot be better than the person who is original in whatever they are. And what I mean by that is, if you want to stop speaking your language, if you want to stop being comfortable with your own food, if you want to be, if you want to be uncomfortable with your own fashion, with your own culture, with your own people, with your own country, or a country where you can trace your roots to, because there's some of us who probably have traveled, our great-grandparents traveled out, and now you find yourself calling first, second, third generation of this country, and they're talking about that country and you don't want to know. Say to yourself, oh, I haven't been there, so I don't know anything about that place, I don't want to know. But you have no roots. And so if you begin to reject everything that's who you originally are, and then you begin to embrace things that are not originally who you are, what tends to happen is, when the people who are originally that thing are talking, they're not going to take you, because you don't belong. You're not part of that original set. And I'm referring to people who take up accent. And what they tend to do is they tend to laugh at people who have other cultural accents. Oh, did you hear how that person speaks? For Christ's sake. It's a language. It's a language. And so the language you were originally brought up with will be part of who you are. And you have to accept it. You have to learn to be proud of it. I mean, especially when it comes to language. When you hear the French speak, and I'm talking about speaking English, when you hear the Russians speak English, when you hear the Arabs speak English, and they speak it with their accent, most people will look at them, oh, isn't that adorable? Isn't that gorgeous? Oh, did you hear his accent? But let an African speak with a mother tongue accent, and suddenly, do you understand what he's saying? And then you have an attitude. That's rejecting who you are. And so the bigger message today is learn to be proud of who you are. Learn to embrace who you are. Learn to stand up for who you are. And this cuts across everybody. I'm not referring just to the Africans. Just be proud of whoever you are. And so your music, your cultures, your fashion, your language, your traditions, your ways of doing things, just stand up and be proud of it. And you know what that does? That creates continuity. That creates opportunities. That creates jobs. Because that's one of the things I'll talk about in another video. When we abandon all these things, do you know what happens? We lose connection with these things. And then there is no opportunity for our children. Because if you had a language center where your language is being spoken, you will employ your own people. If you had a fashion center where your kind of clothes are being sold, you would employ your own people. Same thing with our hair. Same thing with our food. Same thing with our music. Look at what Afro music is doing right now in the world. Can you imagine the number of people employed in that industry right now? Now imagine if that wasn't there. The same thing with the Nollywood movies. Can you imagine how many celebrities have been created from that industry? Now imagine if that wasn't there. Where would these people be? So these are the things I'm talking about. When we embrace our own, we create opportunities for ourselves, and we stand up, we stand proud. We're known for what that is. So I hope I've gotten across today with this message. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments. And if you need more clarification and more understanding about some of these topics, please feel free to reach out to me. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. And please like this and share with your friends. And save it. And keep looking out for Wisdom Wednesdays, because there's always a new topic to be discussed. God bless you.